Hello friends, today I am here to take up the chapter Sound with all of you. So what is sound? Okay, tell me what is the similarity between this sound, which I am going to play it now, and the difference between me speaking. That is, both are sounds and they are similarly propagated and produced. Okay, just leave it, propagation and produced. First, we will concentrate on what is sound. Sound is a form of energy that produces a sensation of hearing in our ears. So, it is a form of energy. What do you mean by form of energy? There are other forms of energy such as heat, light, etc. Same as the sound. And it produces a sensation of hearing in our ears. So, sound is something which is a form of energy and produces a sensation of hearing in our ears. So, I was talking about something of propagation and production. Let's go on to that topic now. How is sound produced? You must have seen a bell ringing in a temple or in a church. When a bell rings, there is this part which is called the bell gong, which also vibrates a little. Vibrates means a to and fro motion from its main position. If I explain you what is vibration with the help of a pendulum, I will do it as follows. Suppose this is a pendulum and it's its mean position. When it travels towards the right and towards the left and returns to its mean position, then it is said to have completed one vibration. That is how the to and fro motion of this bell gong, because of the hitting of the bell on it, produces a vibration or a to and fro motion in the bell gong. As a result, we can hear a sound of the bell gong. Same is with my vocal cords. When I speak, there is a vibration inside my vocal cords. As a result, a sound is produced because of that to and fro motion inside my vocal cords. Now I told you about propagation of sound. You must have understood what is production of sound. Basically, sound is produced because of vibration or to and fro motion of an object. In guitar, in sitar, in every musical instrument, there is a specific part which vibrates and produces sound. Like in a guitar, there are the strings which produce the sound. In a drum, it is the stretched membrane which produces the sound. And in a flute, it is the air column which vibrates, producing the sound. Now let's go on to the propagation of sound. Propagation, in other words, means traveling of sound from the source to the listener. For example, I am speaking and you are the listener. How will sound travel from me to you is how the sound would propagate. So, sound needs one essential thing for propagation, that is medium. Sound can never travel in a vacuum. You can do an experiment for this. You can fix a bell inside a jar and pump out the air from it with help of a vacuum pumper. And then you will see that the sound inside that glass tumbler decreases, and when whole of the air is pumped out of that glass container, you cannot hear any sound. That is because sound needs a medium to travel. The most common medium which sounds use for traveling is air. And other mediums are water, solid, etc. These are the common mediums through which sound travels. We will discuss the speed of the sound in different mediums later. Now, let us first concentrate on how the sound propagates. First, let us think that this is a vibrating object, and the particles that are nearest to this vibrating object would be displaced from their mean position first. Then they would go and disturb the other particle, and the other particle, and the other particle. But after this disturbing the particle next to it in the consecutive line, they would come back to their position. It is just like if you hang 5 to 6 bells in a row. And you hit one of them, and they would hit, and until it reaches, and then they would all come back to their mean or their starting position. This is how sound travels from the speaker to the listener, from me to you, through the air particles. They vibrate upon their mean positions and come back to their mean position, delivering that sound energy to the ear of the listener. How sound propagates or travels from the listener to the speaker, from the speaker to the listener. We visualize this process as wave. Now I'm going to tell you how sound waves travel. When a vibrating object, let's take, this is our vibrating object, and so when it vibrates, when it moves forward, it creates a region of high density, because the number of particles make the density. Because of the high density, there would be high pressure in this area, and then when it moves backwards, it creates an area of lesser density, or where the number of particles in the medium are less. As a result, there would be less pressure here, and so this would be called a compression, and this a rarefaction. As sound needs a medium to travel, it is called a mechanical wave. And because it travels in the form of compressions and rarefactions, it is called a longitudinal wave. So now let us take up what are longitudinal and transverse wave. First I am going to explain you transverse wave. You can fix a thread and just thread with a ball and just give it a shake. This type of figure would be formed. This is an example of a transverse wave, in which the peak is the crest and the valley is the trough. The definition of a transverse wave is when the particles of the medium vibrate in a direction perpendicular to the direction of the propagation of the wave. It is said to be a transverse wave. Okay, so what is a longitudinal wave? What is sound wave? A longitudinal wave remember the figure I have drawn just now? That was like this. Like compressions, rarefactions. So the definition for a longitudinal wave will be when the particles of the medium vibrate in a direction parallel to the direction of the propagation of the wave, they are said to be a longitudinal wave. The example of a transverse wave is ripples in water. You might have noticed that when a ripple is created inside a water, then the particles of water and the leaves and dust, all that sort of thing, that does not move away with the ripple, but it vibrates on its position. That is an example of a transverse wave. Light wave is also an example of a transverse wave. Taking an example of a longitudinal wave, we will say that sound is an example of a longitudinal wave. And a slinky is also an example of a longitudinal wave. So, there is compression here and rarefactions. Compression and rarefactions. So, I have made you understand what is a longitudinal and a transverse wave.